This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience. David Housel said it best, the whole of the Auburn experience. It includes so many different things. It's all about sports. It's all about our culture. It is also, and most importantly, all about our family. And because the Auburn family is all about individuals within that family, I have to have someone here to discuss with me the Auburn experience for this podcast. And that is one of my fellow Auburn family members, Mr. Austin Scott. Episode 13, Austin, welcome back to the show.
War Eagle Kyle, it's always a good time to be with you, and you are one of my favorite fellow Auburn family members as well.
Did you feel like you had to say that since I say that? Like, is that how this works?
Just you didn't say favorite, actually. You said fellow Auburn family members, and I felt like you wanted to say favorite, and so I just decided to extend the branch first. But I can't believe that the home football season is over. We've already kind of hit on it with our live stream members tonight, but it's shocking to me that it goes by so fast, and it's a reminder to me, and I hope to many others, to just enjoy it. No matter what happens each week, just enjoy it, because it's gone before you know it.
We talked about this on this show. We have talked about it on our live streams in other formats on our YouTube channel. We've put the message out there on social media for everybody that was going through this football season, screaming at times about how they just wanted to be over with. I mean, yes, we got the Iron Bowl left. There's the very far off opportunity for a bowl game too. So the season is not done yet, but the home season, the part that we love, the part that makes Auburn football the most Auburn football, it's over with. I found myself very sad today, and we're recording this on a Sunday because I stayed through the whole weekend. I didn't want it to end. I wanted to stay in Auburn forever. It's tough, man. Like, some people don't get to live in Auburn, Austin.
I do.
But jerk.
That right somehow does not grant me the opportunity to go inside Jordan-Hare Stadium whenever I please. And so there were things that, yesterday it was like, well, this is my last time having a Ben's Pretzel in Jordan-Hare for quite some time.
Ben's Pretzel, that's where you went to, a Ben's Pretzel?
Oh my gosh, Kyle, have you ever had a Ben's Pretzel?
Yes, I've had a Ben's Pretzel. Pretzels are they're okay. They're fine.
Oh, the Ben's Pretzels are more than okay. But, and people will say you can have them in the arena. Well, I can, but when it's 38 degrees and I need a cinnamon pretzel from Ben's in my seat to cheer on my team, that only comes around ever so often. So it was the last time I got to see the eagle fly, and thankfully,
hey, the eagle flew good. If you didn't know,
she flew good. She flew great. And it was right to my right this time. And I love when they do it right by our seats, because we get this perfect view. All that said, it's sad when it's over and we got to wait a whole nother, 8 or 9 months before it comes back again. And, but it was a good one to end on.
It was, it's different because we had the emotion of last week of Caddy's first game, the rawness of it, the realness of it. And not that it was even any less cool this week to have him run out there as head coach again. But this one almost felt like just go out there and play football as opposed to the emotion of the situation. Because let's be honest, the Texas A&M win wasn't like the most exciting of things, because there wasn't a lot of scoring. There wasn't a lot of just exciting things in this. But like in the second half, Auburn just broke loose and just, had their way running the ball. So like it felt like a Caddy's signature game in a way, because of things like the halfback pass, 2 running backs getting over 100 yards, which may I continue to remind folks, I did it on the reaction show after the game, that I called that 200-yard rushing days. And the minute, like when Tank busted loose, I was like, okay, I'm fine. I'm good. And then Jarquez Hunter just said, you know what, sir, I'm going 100 too. And boy, did he just fly around the edge. I love watching those two together.
They're an incredible duo, and I loved Auburn football's post today. If you didn't see it, with the meme of Peter Parker, the Tobey Maguire Peter Parker, for our younger folks, the OG Spider-Man. That's right. Has his glasses off, and it's when he's figuring out his Spidey's eyesight, right? He's got his glasses off, and then the next picture.
I'm cringing right now with the way you're describing this, but go ahead.
hit with it's got the picture next with that's kind of blurry with Ronnie and Cadillac, and then he puts his glasses on, and you see Tank and Jarquez, and I loved that. That
It was
was
good.
incredible, and it's what I feel like we all kind of feel. No one's saying those are 2 top 5 running backs in the next draft or anything like that,
One of
but
them is.
you kind of felt like it was that kind of performance with those 2 yesterday, and being head coach with the one of them that they're trying to follow footsteps in makes it all the better.
Oh, it was a beautiful thing. The minute just real quick, we talk more X's and O's stuff on the live stream that's on Monday nights, and then we have a podcast as well with Ben and AJ. Or excuse me, that's the way it used to be.
Yep.
Jared's gonna kill me now. Sorry, Jared and AJ. They'll break that down. But I just want to talk about this play, for instance. Just picture 13-year-old Kyle watching his favorite player throw a halfback pass to Anthony Mix. And I'm a big Anthony Mix fan too, back in the day. So I saw this little play start going out, and I was like, man, Jarquez really isn't hitting and I said,
Yeah.
Is he gonna? And he just reared back and slung that thing to the end zone. Might I add, made a pretty better, what I think is a better throw than Caddy did. It was beautiful. The serendipity of it all, the cyclical nature of everything coming around. It's just, God, you gotta love it. It was beautiful.
Yeah, and I mean even like you said, the cyclical nature with Will Friend being the interim offensive coordinator, was at Georgia then on staff, just helped them implement it and said, I know it's going to work because your coach did it. Like that, just crazy to think about. And it was pretty special. I was trying to think. I was like, was Jarquez born when that play happened? He probably has no idea.
Let's do some quick math here. So I would have been
like
13. He would be, and it's been. I feel like he was born, but maybe not for long.
I mean, not long at all. He's probably 18 or 19 years old now. So yeah, just barely into the world.
I do need to atone for something in this first segment, though, because I didn't go real public about it, but I was a little bit frustrated with the Auburn family that morning with the lack. Let me just put it to you this way. The parking lot that I go to reserve my parking in for each game day, I usually have to fight people for parking spots to reserve them. They were like more than half available that morning, and there was like nobody on campus. Yes, it was cold and all that stuff, and I was a little bit perturbed. But by the time we got to Tiger Walk, boy, did everybody show up. Now, look, when you look at the stadium, yes, it was very spread out, but I looked around and I said, you know what? For a 3:00 weird time game, for this type of game, Western Kentucky against a team that everybody's a little worried is going to beat us, cold, end of the year, everything else that's been going on. I said, well done, Auburn. I take back what I was feeling, what I said. So I apologize, Auburn family, for doubting you that you would show up for Caddy in his last game.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Kind of once it took a while to trickle in. Like you said, it's cold, and I from my view, from my seats, it's the student section is kind of where I judge how things are going to go, and it was sparse there for a little bit.
I expect the students, right? It was Thanksgiving break.
Thanksgiving, yep. And I remember those games. I know you do. I remember that game when you don't have the Iron Bowl at home.
Right.
There's a lot of people go ahead and phone it in and get their travel on. I get that. But I was pretty impressed too once everybody kind of filled in with the weather the way it was, and that's always important to me too, to see. You expect a senior day when it's the Iron Bowl that's going to be packed out, but to see a senior day when it's not great, and especially for this class that has been through so much, I was glad to see a good turnout.
Can we just, for real quick, to round out this topic, can we just mention Colby Wooden? What are you trying to do to me, man? Sitting down there, kneeling down, basically in tears in the end zone, didn't want to get up and just needed a moment to himself. That was like shades of Kyle, come on, don't forget his name. Linebacker, after they lost the Iron Bowl, he just went and sat in the stands and wouldn't leave. Come on. El Toro Freeman. Freeman. That just breaks your heart, man. This is Colby Wood, and I have become a super fan of this season. Not that I wasn't before, but really appreciative of him now. And when they panned over that man just sitting there by himself, down on one knee, just kind of keep trying to keep it all together. It's tough to watch, man. That is,
Well, it's a hard thing to realize, I'm sure, for them, and we hinted at what all they've been through, but to know that that's the last time, even though maybe their 4 years seems like a lot longer given the circumstances, to know that's the last time they're playing in Jordan-Hare. It's a
yeah.
surreal moment.
It is. It is a surreal moment. It is bittersweet for us. It is, bittersweet even more for the players, the coaches that won't be here or may not be here next year. So we'll obviously got more football to talk about with Auburn. The season doesn't end here, but there are some other topics that we want to hit in this episode. So let's talk about one of those. We've been kind of him-hawing around at Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of not necessarily avoiding it, but just kind of waiting, because the big topic, the only thing that anybody wants to talk about these days is who's going to be the next Auburn football head coach. Well, I'm here to tell you today that Cadillac Williams will be the next head coach. I'm kidding. Everybody calm down. Don't get it super excited or super offended. Let me just say, I will repeat what I've said 1,000 times on every live stream, on anytime that someone's asked me in person. My little Auburn heart wants Cadillac Williams to be the head coach so much, but my head cannot get there with me yet, mainly for safety of my own Auburn heart being broken. So that's why I just can't even go there with a lot of people personally. Not because I don't want it, not because I don't believe it would not work, or however you want to say that. I believe it could work. I can't be heartbroken that way. Does that make sense? Kind of what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. My thing with it, and I think we're coming from a similar viewpoint, is I don't want to set him up for failure, and then you look back on it completely the opposite of the way we all feel right now. And I think with where the program's at right now, I'm with Kyle. I think it could work, but what if it doesn't? Is that really how you want to set up? What if it doesn't and it's really bad? Is that how you want to set up one of your favorite sons?
Right.
And so, I'm not saying it won't happen. I think that's still for someone else to decide. And I don't think we're to the point where it's completely over yet. I think we're close, but I think that it would be tough on a lot of people fighting that head versus heart battle.
Right. So, and here's the way you need to look at this. Caddy has when I say this isn't me saying that it's a high likelihood, but he has the easiest path to the head coaching job, because if he continues what he's done by getting this team, the ship righted, the program righted, and somehow, some way beats Bama, you'll know in a week with us talking about this, whether that's true or not, somehow gets them to a bowl game, wins that, and pulls in some kind of little recruiting class here, the early signing period. You got to take a long, hard look at him. So he controls, I would argue he controls his destiny more than any other coaching candidate that is on the table.
The only thing that I would argue against that is that I don't think for all that to happen, I don't think there's going to be enough time.
I think that time's a factor.
A win against Alabama, a bowl win, and the early recruiting period. Yep. Auburn's going to want to have already had a coach by then, whether it's him or not. So I think personally, that we're going to know kind of going into the Iron Bowl, and I don't want this to come off as so that Cadillac can't win the job. That's not what I'm saying, but I think it's to kind of protect that and make sure he can go, because that's the other part. He deserves to know as well, right? I know that he has said he's not worried about that. What an incredible quote, by the way, that my seat does not dictate the service.
My goodness.
Hello.
Put him on a plaque now. If we do not, you remember the Notre Dame thing where was it play like a champion today as they come down the stairs, I think is what it is. If we do not slap a plaque on the top, as they come under the tunnel there out into the open, what is it again, Austin? I'm going to butcher it.
My seat does not dictate service.
My seat does not dictate service. That is yes, he's speaking about himself in this coaching situation, but that can go anywhere. If that is not plastered there at the first game, I'm going to have a duck fit. That's what I'm. What are you doing, Auburn marketing department, if you do not make that our play like a champion today plaque? Please don't make me have a duck. live on camera in the year's time. Let's put that up there. Honor the man in some way. Like when I saw that, it was a good thing I was driving, like came across like on a little update tweet thing on my phone. I about like ran through a wall with my car because I've run through so many walls already. My house is literally like, as I've said, the only wall left in my house is the one you see behind me because I've run through every one of them because of Cadillac. That being said, it was an amazing quote.
And so I think that's where his head's at with it. I don't think he's too concerned about am I going to be the next head coach or not. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what comes of this week and where we come to you from next week's live recording and from when you hear this podcast a week later.
So are you calling for head coach the next time we meet? Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh man, that's a good question.
Is it a loaded question?
Do I think we will know by the time you and I record next Sunday? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
I'm gonna say like officially from Auburn.
Auburn has announced their head coach when you and I meet again in a week's time.
I'm gonna say yes. Yeah, I'm gonna say yes.
Here's what I'm gonna say. Auburn will know whether or not what their top candidate is by this, like, is going to say yes or not. So what we're talking about, folks, and Lane Kiffin, you don't have to be an insider. You don't have to have the sources. You don't have to have the blog or the message board to connect the dots here. Lane Kiffin and Auburn makes the most sense across the board. Now, is that me endorsing him as the head coach? Is that me saying that I necessarily want him? Not at all. I'm not going either way on it because I'm really not sold in all areas about Lane Kiffin personally, but I'm also not sold in all the other candidates, even some ones that I probably would prefer a little bit more because there are some things they don't check boxes on. But would you agree that we're all just kind of dancing around that Lane Kiffin is the top candidate?
Oh yeah, I mean we're all at the prom, sitting pointing across the finger like, you want to dance with me? Do you want to? We're all trying to figure out. We're all trying to figure out when the next slow song comes on. If you and I are meeting it in the middle of the gym, you know what I mean?
Oh my gosh,
that's
you
where
just
we're
got
at
so real right now.
That's where we're at, Kyle. We can all relate to that.
You just equated the coaching search to a prom dance that I've lived in my life. Oh my gosh,
that's what I'm saying, Kyle. We're all sitting looking across the kind of dim lit gym trying to figure out, I think she wants to dance with me. Do I want to dance with her? That's where we're at. And that's where Auburn and Lane Kiffin are at. They're trying to figure out if the corsage is going to fit on the wrist. The orange and blue corsage, is it going to match his tie? I'm telling you, Kyle.
Only on the Auburn Experience podcast do you get a comparison of Lane Kiffin in Auburn with a prom corsage dance thing. Like, wow, I never thought we'd go to this level. I'm not saying that I don't disagree with you, but that's incredible. Wow. You paint a certain picture. You should be on the call with Andy Burcham. Painting pictures like that. Lane Kiffin. So that's really where we're at right now. We're all kind of waiting to see, does Auburn officially want him, and does he officially want to be with us? And I think that's the biggest thing we can take away from our discussion here, but what's going on right now. Everybody's kind of posting, oh, I'm hearing this, I'm seeing that, or, these kind of feelers out. But Thursday's Egg Bowl determines a lot for Ole Miss, but it also determines a lot for the Auburn coaching search going forward. So we will probably have some definitive things to talk about in the next, I shouldn't say definitive. We will be able to discuss one candidate in a serious way or not. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think so. I think this time, next episode, we'll know a lot more than we know right now. And it'll be interesting. I think, like you said, the Egg Bowl on Thursday night and leading up to the Egg Bowl on Thursday night will be very telling. So we will see.
So in your opinion, because that's kind of where we need to leave it at right now, because that's where, even if you don't agree with the statement, that's where the tea leaves are that we're all looking at. Even if you don't want to believe it, that's the few facts that are out there. All the directional arrows are pointing somehow, even in a windy way, back to Lane right now. Who would it be if not Lane, based on your feeling right now?
I think you've got a pool, right? I think we can all agree, like you were saying, and all the directional arrows point to Lane is number one. And Lane is, there's a tier system here, and Lane's there. And then, it's like our flow chart. If not Lane, then who? You move down, right? And I think at that point, you're looking at names we've all heard. Hugh Freeze, I think, is a name out there. I think some other names we probably don't know are out there. That's how it happened with John Cohen in the first place, right? This is his search, and nobody knew his name until like 24 hours before.
Right.
And so I think it could be interesting if Lane says no. I don't think Auburn wants that, because then this gets prolonged a little bit further and gets a little more murkier. But I think if Lane says no, or if Auburn and Lane can't agree, I'll put it that way, then you've got a much cloudier situation you're having to deal with.
With a lot more options.
But I think Hugh Freeze would definitely be in there. I think we've talked about Jeff Grimes on this show before, and people have heard Jeff Grimes' name out there as well. So I would say those two are in there. Is there someone else you're thinking of I'm missing?
No, I mean, I trust a lot of people that I've talked to. I've had someone tell me that they are adamant that Hugh Freeze will never see the light of day at Auburn. But that people have also said that you can't run a field goal back 109 yards for a touchdown. And boy, did they prove him, or Chris Davis proved them wrong. So I kind of like what you said. Past Hugh Freeze, it becomes, I'll disagree with the murkiness. Not that it becomes murky for us. It just opens up the possibility pool is what it really is. And so then it becomes almost like a brand new search in my mind personally, unless John Cohen is just completely going somewhere different from the very get-go, which kind of I would like, to be honest with you, because that kind of is a guy that's going out. I'm not asking for a Brian Harsin hire, like someone no one saw coming, but like in terms of a lower tier, that's a mean way of saying that. A coach that doesn't have Power 5 experience. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. I don't have one right now outside of Lane, because I do think it makes the most sense. And that, again, let me restate this. It's not my endorsement for or against Lane Kiffin. I am just trying to look at it logically. And I think that's what's sitting here. Here's what I will say. If Lane does not take it, and we're not talking about this in the next podcast, or talking about him being hired, you might see me jump on the Caddy bandwagon. You might. Yeah. You might. And I will be screaming from the heavens. So I'm holding myself back for my own safety and for your safety on this show, Austin. but you may hear me begin the Cadillac campaign next week if we don't get a resolution that a lot of people expect with Lane Kiffin.
Well, I think too, we'll also know next week the outcome of the Iron Bowl, and there could be a lot more on that bandwagon, depending on if he's able to get into Tuscaloosa and do something special. So big if.
A lot of big ifs around, and hopefully we'll know some definitive things when we talk about probably this topic again next week. Let's round out our show after we just kind of talked about, the most obvious Auburn things, the end of the home football season, the coaching search that we're hoping at least to get some directional guidance in here in the coming week. Let's talk about something about as far stretched from the Auburn experience that most people aren't going to think about, but we're going to kind of tie it back into, because, Auburn is a place in the truest sense, like it is a town, it is a college, but we always talk about Auburn's not a place, it's people. But for this, we're going to kind of keep it on that to some of the surrounding areas. And we will tie it back to, I got something on Auburn football. I don't know if you've thought about it yet, but there are some high schools around Auburn that some really well known, some probably not so well known, that are having some really great success right now that I think is worth mentioning. And it's not because, and I'm going to get your title wrong, the head of the marketing department is my co-host, but for one of them. But I want to give some shout outs to, let's just start with Lee Scott, because nobody knows who Lee Scott is unless you are from the AISA, which is an independent school athletic association, which I was a part of. Very thankful for that. and from the Auburn area. But Lee Scott Academy is on, well, you call it the outskirts, Austin, of town?
It's right off the university loop and by the mall.
Yeah.
So
The loop I kind of call like the barrier almost. Not that you're not part of Auburn if you're not in that barrier, but it's kind of like that big, it's kind of like, think about, for those of you from Atlanta, 285 that circles Atlanta. Like I'm outside of that where I live. So I don't call myself being part of Atlanta, but I still just say I'm from Atlanta, just but don't have to explain to people. So it's kind of like that, smaller sense. Congratulations, Austin, for your employer winning a state championship and representing the community of Auburn in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, you hinted at just incredible years for a lot of high schools around our area. Beauregard made the playoffs.
I didn't know Beauregard made it.
They made the playoffs, had a great year, lost on a heartbreaker, I think. And Opelika had a great year too. Can't remember if they squeaked in or not. But yeah, Lee Scott was one of those, obviously a different school association, but equal playing field, and was able to win the state title and go undefeated the other night. I have
this year too.
12-0, had 5 shutouts. I played a very, very, very small part in it all, and just got to kind of hop along for the ride. But really enjoyed just getting to know a lot of kids and coaches and good people, and always excited to see good people succeed and feel joy. And that's across the Auburn experience landscape, but when you work with them closely, even more so. So really proud of Lee Scott, and things look bright for the future. So
I will address one comment that I've seen come, because we do this on a live recording, those that wondering if there's any recruits from there, or I don't know if maybe they're talking about another school. But AISA is not known for sending out Division I football players. However, does anybody know a name OJ Howard? You remember that name? He came from an AISA school. I actually played the team. That Ataga, I believe, was what it was. So he was a big time recruit. But every once in a while, you'll find some recruits come out of there. Actually, I was about to drop one from my school. So let me talk about that for a second. We're going to actually talk about the high school everybody's more aware of. I'm from Macon East Montgomery Academy. Well, that's what it was called. It's Macon East Academy, right outside of Montgomery, Alabama. I've always compared Lee Scott to the Auburn, Georgia rivalry with my school. That's how we viewed it. Because Hooper in town was the Alabama, even though sorry, Hooper, y'all suck. But no love lost here. That's kind of, we viewed it as the Iron Bowl. And then like Glenwood was that weird LSU rivalry where weird things happened and we hate each other for no reason. But that was like our big, and then Bessemer was like, at the time when I made these comparisons, they were like Florida, who was really good at the time, like that. Like, no reason they should be good, but they always were. Anyway, so that's my connection to this. I hate to see my high school rivals having success, but I'm happy to see you having success. And listen, as I talked about with this being an all-encompassing show for the Auburn experience, it's part of the community, and I love it when something that's connected to Auburn has success.
Yeah, and just those are people that live in the community as well, and like I said, just good to see good people succeed, and it's happening a lot. And like you said, Auburn High is having an incredible year as well.
Team?
And they are now, they've had one loss. That's right, to Central. Got the revenge game against Central Phoenix City, who coached by Pat Nix. Crazy game on Friday night, and they're headed to state championship. And this year is the year it's in Jordan-Hare. So it's going to be bonkers around here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we told you that we were going to bring it back to something Auburn football related. Can I just point out to you that one Derek Hall ripped up some sod from Jordan-Hare? So there's going to be a divot when they're running or, kicking from a certain spot on the field. I'm sure. I forget where it was. I know it was like in a blue section of the field that he was ripping out.
Looked like an SEC logo. So some on the 25s or something. Yeah.
He could rip out the SEC logo. That's fine. I'm not going to fault Derek Hall for ripping it out. Listen, he's done a lot for us this year and beyond, and not just as a football player, but as an Auburn man. He represents himself well, as far as I can tell. He shows up at all the other sporting events, supporting the teams there. So just be careful, Auburn High. There's a divot out there, and I would hate to see anybody with a sprained ankle. We got Braden Joyner, who's a recruit for Auburn right now, an offensive lineman. who's going to be playing in potentially, if he follows through with his commitment, on National Signing Day. He'll be playing on, getting a little preview of his field. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, getting his first action in Jordan-Hare before he's an Auburn University Tiger. So it'll be interesting. I can't wait to see it. I haven't decided if I'm going to make it over there for it. It'll be on a Wednesday night. But Auburn High and Thompson in the 7A state championship game. I don't know what the record is for like most attended or highest attendance of a state championship game, but I mean, this has a chance. I feel like when you've got it right in your backyard. And Thompson's a big school too, and they've been to, I think this is their 5th state championship they're going to, so they know how to come down here and play too. I really want to see how many people show up.
Yeah, obviously it's not going to fill up, an 87,000 stadium, but if you get 30,000 to show up, 40,000 to show up, that'll fill up, almost 3/4 of the lower bowl probably, and maybe 3. I don't know. I'm not good at math. Don't ask me. Even though I have an Auburn degree, I'm terrible at math.
I'm horrible at like judging that kind of thing.
Yeah, just don't get. I need to stop trying to do math on the show. I just embarrass myself. That and pronunciating, talking is a struggle for me, even as a podcaster. It's really cool because we've watched in an odd way Auburn football struggle, but the community schools, the closest ones, Lee, Scott, and Auburn, have such great success this year. So it's really just a unique situation that I've kind of been living vicariously through them while my real team struggles. Happy for them. Obviously I'm going to root for Auburn High. I wasn't rooting for Lee Scott. Austin, I'm sorry. Even though I knew that y'all weren't going to lose. That's just me, though. I'm petty.
That's fine. It was against Glenwood, who is our Alabama, like you were referring to earlier. So that'd be like you watching the Georgia game, I guess.
But even just a different comparison, but similar. The Georgia-Alabama National Championship, people would ask me, who are you rooting for? I'm rooting for the Meteor. I don't want anybody to be physically – I'm not rooting for anybody to get – like, here's what I want to happen. It's like, this is a magical meteor that comes down, like transports all the humans away, but before it strikes, and then just like the essence of Alabama and Georgia are still there, and it just obliterates it from the existence, like the timeline, so to speak, the multiverse, as people in movies like to call it. That's what I wish for. No injuries, no one hurt, just the essence of everything Alabama and Georgia. That's how I felt about watching a Glenwood Lee Scott game. So you're welcome.
There was no meteor, I can confirm, and I am still here, and I was not magically transported. So but it was a great game, and the Lee Scott Warriors are state champs, and it's been pretty fun so far.
Yeah, so. Congratulations to Lee Scott, and obviously, regardless of what happens with Auburn High, very proud of how they represent the community of Auburn, and just contributed to the overall success of what people get to experience.
One very interesting question with Auburn High now returning to Jordan-Hare Stadium for the state championship game is that many parents will attend this game. Many parents of players and backup quarterbacks will attend this game, and one backup quarterback is by the name of Davis Harsin.
That's tough.
So we'll see. I think that'd be pretty interesting if Mr. Brian Harsin returns to Jordan-Hare Stadium. I'm sure he will. I mean, this is completely
right.
Nothing against. He should go watch his kid, and he should not be harassed to go watch his kid.
That's what you mean by you're bringing that up. Yeah.
Yes, and so I just hope that we all respect that. And but that is interesting to think about. I'm not sure he ever really thought that he would be going back into Jordan-Hare this soon, at least. Let's say that.
Yep. Yeah. Obviously, good luck to them, and be interesting to see how this whole thing finishes out if we have two high schools right next to Auburn. With state titles at the end of this thing, but it's been fun to watch this football season. That's going to do it for episode 13 of the Auburn Experience. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us and tuning in to our show and listening to us ramble about things. And we didn't get old and crotchety tonight. We got a little retrospective at times and looked to the future as well. Covered a lot of different things. Austin, if people want to stay in touch with you, where can they find you?
Austin G. Scott. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. On Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, you can see a picture of me holding the state championship trophy. So they were kind enough to let me get my hands on it.
Just brag away. Why don't you? Fine. Whatever. You can find me on Twitter, not holding a state championship trophy, at Kyle Loomis 24. We appreciate you guys tuning in today. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.
War Eagle, everybody.